Hi everyone, Ainsley here from Small Fry Creations. Now I don't know about you, but Christmas for me means food. So today I'm going to show you how you can spice up your Christmas table 3 different ways. Let's do it.
The first option is a simple wooden box. I had scrap lying around the shop from all the cutting boards I had been making, so I decided I'd glue them up into a panel. Once the panel was dry, I could then take it out of clamps and run it through the thicknesser to get everything level. Now you can always use a belt sander or an orbital sander for this step. The panel was then cut into strips that were 90mm wide. Now remember, these measurements can always be adjusted if you have different amounts of scrap in your workshop. Once I had the strips, I could then take them to the miter saw to cut them to length. I cut the front and the back of the box to 300mm long and the sides to be 100mm long. The next thing was to glue everything together. I looked at the box during glue up and I decided that I wanted to put a chamfer on the edge, so after sanding I added a chamfer with my cordless router. Then it was just a matter of applying a couple of coats of clear and then sanding in between coats with 220 grit sandpaper. Then your box is ready for show. The next option was me learning a new skill. I have wanted to work with concrete for a while now and thought this was a good time to give it a go. I started by cutting 40mm strips of melamine on the table saw. I decided I wanted the shape to be a hexagon, so I set my stop block on the miter saw to be 130mm and set the angle of my miter saw to 30 degrees. Then it was just a matter of cutting 6 pieces at exactly the same length. I used my strap clamp to bring everything together and then I could clamp it to a melamine board. I screwed my hexagon down, so I wanted to countersink my screws so I didn't end up concreting them in and not being able to get the mould pulled apart later. When it comes to siliconing the gaps, I went with Shelley's fast drying silicone. When I do a concrete project again, I'll try a different silicone, as this one was hard to remove off the concrete once I pulled it out of its mould. I covered the screw holes with painter's tape and I started the process of mixing the concrete. Here comes lesson 1 for me. Less water is better. Add water slowly because I needed a lot less water than I thought and I had to add concrete to get it to the right consistency. Once the concrete was mixed, I could pour it into the mould. I used a stick to push it into the corners and then a piece of plywood to level everything off. I used the plywood to tap around the edges and push all the bubbles to the surface. Here comes lesson 2 with concrete. When you think you have done enough tapping, set a 10-minute timer on your phone and keep going. You'll thank me. When I pulled the mould apart, I still had some air bubbles and the edges weren't great. You'll see a shot of it here as I'm sealing it. So I decided to give it another go and the second one came out much better. Now in the process of mixing the concrete for the second one, I broke the bucket, and then it came to me. Why not leave concrete in the bottom of the bucket and level it off and see how it comes out? The result was awesome. However, a tip for you when you are trying to get it out of the bucket: wear gloves, because I didn't and I paid the price. I cleaned up the top and the sides by sanding them, and then I could seal the concrete. To seal the concrete, I used Bondcrete because it's what I had on hand. I mixed it with 4 parts water, 1 part Bondcrete, and brushed on a couple of coats. It seemed to work well for me. With the sealer dry, your concrete was ready to be the showpiece. On to the third and final option for today. My current obsession is chalkboard paint, and I don't know about you, but we host a number of families for Christmas and I wanted to make something personal. So I made a simple box out of MDF, as this is what I had in the shop. I cut strips on the table saw to 90mm wide, and then I could cut the strips to length on the miter saw. The front and back of the box are 730mm long and the sides are 125mm long. It then was time to glue and nail the box together. Before I painted, I needed to seal the edges of the MDF as it is very porous. I mixed 3 parts wood glue and 1 part water and sealed all the edges with a paintbrush. I gave the box a quick sand and it was on to finishing. I painted the inside of the box matte black and applied 2 coats of chalkboard paint to the outside of the box. This way you can write whatever you like on the box and change it for each family. When it comes to styling for the table, I used some branches that I cut off from my Christmas tree, and I also got a couple of things from IKEA and Kmart to bring the table to life. Now before I turn the music up and let you get inspired, I wanted to say thank you for watching, and if this is your first time to the channel, welcome. If you like what you see here, go ahead and hit those subscribe and like buttons so you can keep up with what I'm building. Now let's turn the music up and get those creative juices flowing.